First contact under fire. The Nix research station Starlight Haven spun gracefully in the azure glow of the Centauri Nebula, its crystalline spires catching and refracting the light into rainbow cascades. Chief researcher Astra Val watched through gossamer-thin sensor membranes as another data string flowed in from their quantum field experiments. The Nix, with their natural ability to perceive and manipulate quantum states through their bioluminescent bodies, had made this station their premier research facility for understanding the fundamental fabric of spacetime. But today, something was wrong. The quantum field readings were showing distortions that shouldn't be there, ripples in spacetime that spoke of massive objects dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Astra's bioluminescent patterns shifted to alarmed purples and reds as she called up the station's defensive screens. "Unknown vessels detected," announced the station's AI in its characteristic musical tones. "Configuration matches Void Hunter assault craft. 15 ships, heavy armament." Astra's light patterns pulsed with fear. Everyone in the Centauri sector knew about the Void Hunters, pirates who had adapted their bodies with cybernetic implants until they were more machine than organic, hunting advanced technology to incorporate into their ever-evolving forms. The Nix, with their natural quantum manipulation abilities and advanced biotechnology, were prime targets. "Begin emergency protocols," Astra commanded, her voice carrying harmonic overtones of authority. "Launch distress beacons. Contact the defense fleet." But she already knew it would be too late. The nearest Nix defense vessels were 3 days away at maximum speed. The station's shields would never hold that long against a determined Void Hunter assault. The first impacts rattled the crystalline structure of the station. The Void Hunters weren't even bothering to demand surrender. They never did. They simply took what they wanted, leaving broken ships and broken bodies in their wake. Unexpected contact, the AI suddenly announced. Single vessel emerging from the Kuiper Belt mining zone. Configuration unknown. Astra's attention shifted to the new contact. The ship was crude by Nix standards. Blocky, built of metal rather than grown from living crystal, with massive engines that seemed oversized for its frame. It was moving fast, faster than something that solid had any right to move. The ship's communication systems crackled to life, broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth mining vessel Groundbreaker. Starlight Haven, you appear to be under attack. Do you require assistance?" Earth? Astra had never heard of it. Some minor mining species, perhaps. What could one mining ship do against 15 Void Hunter vessels? Another impact rocked the station. Shield integrity was already down to 60%. With no choice left, Astra responded. "This is Chief Researcher Astraval. We are under attack by Void Hunters. Our shields are failing. Please, help." There was a pause, then, "Understood, Starlight Haven. Be advised, we're going to have to get a bit rough. You might want to brace for shockwaves." Before Astra could process what that meant, the Groundbreaker's engines flared with devastating power. The ship accelerated to speeds that should have torn it apart, aimed straight at the nearest Void Hunter vessel. At the last possible moment, it cut its main engines and fired lateral thrusters, using its own mass as a weapon. The impact was catastrophic. The Void Hunter ship, despite its advanced technology, crumpled like tissue paper under the sheer kinetic force. The Groundbreaker, incredibly, seemed barely scratched. "What?" Astra's patterns flickered in disbelief. "What are you?" "We're humans." Captain Chen's voice carried a note of grim satisfaction. "We come from a world with 3 times standard gravity. Built our ships to match. These pirates might have fancy tech, but they've never dealt with deep gravity engineering before." The remaining Void Hunters were regrouping, bringing their weapons to bear on this unexpected threat. But the Groundbreaker was already moving again, its massive bulk dancing through space with impossible agility. "Our defensive systems are failing," Astra reported, watching as another section of shields collapsed. "Understood. Look, this would be easier if we could dock. We got Marines who could help secure your station. But, Captain Chen paused. We need to know if your structures can handle our mass. Our lightest crew member masses about 150 kilos in standard gravity. Astra's patterns shifted to shocked white. These humans were giants, products of a world that would crush most sentient species. Yet here they were, using that same crushing power to protect rather than destroy. The main docking bay was designed for cargo vessels, she said after quick calculations. It can handle your mass. But please, be careful. Our buildings are grown, not built. They're alive. Understood, Chen replied. Don't worry. We've had lots of practice being gentle. The Groundbreaker's next maneuver sent 2 more Void Hunter ships spinning away, their systems overloaded by the kinetic impact. As Astra watched, she realized that the universe had just become a very different place. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not with diplomats or trade agreements, but with an act of protection that defied all expectations. First contact had come not with a handshake, but with a shield raised in defense of the weak. And perhaps, Astra thought as she watched the Groundbreaker continue its dance of destruction, that was exactly how it should be. The weight of giants. Admiral Helena Rodriguez stood in the command center of Earth Fleet Station Arcturus, her muscular frame casting a long shadow across the holographic display of the Centauri sector. The emergency transmission from the Groundbreaker played again, showing Captain Chen's mining vessel defending the crystalline alien station against impossible odds. They call themselves the Nix, Rodriguez explained to the assembled fleet commanders. Living crystalline beings with natural quantum manipulation abilities. Their entire civilization is built on technology that's half-grown, half-engineered. And now they're being hunted by cybernetic pirates called Void Hunters. Commander James Wu, captain of the heavy cruiser Everest, leaned forward, his dense frame making the reinforced chair creak. The Groundbreaker's buying them time, but she's just a mining ship. How long can she hold out? That's why we're here, Rodriguez replied, expanding the hologram to show fleet positions. The UN Security Council has authorized Operation Gentle Giant. We're going to show these Void Hunters what happens when you pick on the wrong species friends. The assembled officers studied the tactical display. 5 heavy cruisers, 10 destroyers, and 3 carrier groups. Enough firepower to level a small continent. But this mission wasn't about destruction. It was about protection. There's a complication, Rodriguez continued. The Nix are incredibly fragile by our standards. Their station is essentially alive. A massive crystalline organism they've grown and shaped into a research facility. One wrong move from our ships or crews could do more damage than the pirates. We've been training for this, Captain Sarah Martins of the medical ship Mercy pointed out. Ever since we started expanding into space, we knew we'd encounter species more fragile than us. Every crew member has gone through low gravity and careful handling protocols. Rodriguez nodded. True, but this is our first real test. The galaxy's watching. People, they need to see that humanity's strength isn't just about breaking things. It's about having the control and discipline to protect what's fragile. The briefing continued with detailed technical specifications about Nix biology and architecture. The humans learned about the crystalline being's natural bioluminescence, their ability to perceive quantum states, and their advanced biotechnology. Every piece of information emphasized both their incredible scientific achievements and their physical vulnerability. In the station's massive hangar bay, Marine Commander Victor Santos supervised as his teams modified their powered armor. Lighter steps, people, he called out. I want those impact dampeners at maximum. Remember, we're walking into something like a living cathedral. Treat every surface like it's made of the thinnest glass. The Marines, each weighing over 150 kilos in their armor, practiced walking with exaggerated care. Their usual thunderous footsteps became whisper-quiet as they adjusted their movements. They were warriors trained for maximum destruction, now learning to be as gentle as dancers. Aboard the Everest, Engineers work to modify the ship's docking clamps. Their crystal tech responds to quantum fields. Chief Engineer Patel explained to her team. We need to match our approach vectors perfectly, or we'll disrupt their entire structural matrix. It's like trying to dock with a soap bubble without popping it. The fleet's AI networks were busy too, processing the quantum state data from the groundbreaker sensors. The Void Hunter ships showed signs of organic technology, grafted onto mechanical systems, a perversion of the Nexus' natural abilities. They were vulnerable to kinetic impacts precisely because they'd sacrificed structural integrity for cybernetic improvements. In her quarters, Admiral Rodriguez reviewed the final preparation reports. The fleet would arrive at Starlight Haven in 6 hours. The groundbreaker had already destroyed or driven off 8 of the 15 Void Hunter ships, but more were coming. The pirates had called for reinforcements, not expecting to find such heavy resistance at what should have been an easy target. Status report from the groundbreaker, her AI assistant announced. Captain Chen has successfully docked with Starlight Haven. Marine detachment is providing internal security. The Nix are fascinated by our crew. Apparently, they can see the quantum patterns of our heavy gravity adaptations. They're calling us star-dense ones. Rodriguez smiled. First contact situations usually involved careful diplomatic protocols and cultural exchanges. Instead, humanity had introduced itself by having a mining ship play demolition derby with space pirates. Yet somehow, it seemed to be working. The Nix weren't afraid of their rescuers' strength. They were in awe of how such power could be controlled with such precision. Send word to all ships, Rodriguez ordered. Operation Gentle Giant commences in 6 hours. Let's show the galaxy that humanity knows how to be the right kind of monster. As the fleet accelerated toward their destination, Rodriguez reflected on the irony. Humans had spent centuries feeling like cosmic weaklings, looking up at the stars and imagining superior alien civilizations. Instead, they'd found themselves cast in the role of protective giants, using their primitive, gravity-forged bodies and crude kinetic technologies to defend more advanced but physically fragile species. Perhaps this was humanity's true place in the galaxy, not conquerors or victims, but protectors. The gentle giants who could wade into danger, shrugging off attacks that would shatter others, while taking exquisite care not to harm those they defended. The stars stretched into lines as the fleet entered FTL, racing to help their new allies. The weight of worlds had forged humanity into something unique, and they were about to show the galaxy exactly what that meant. Titan-born guardians. The void between stars erupted with light as 30 Void Hunter vessels dropped out of FTL, their hybrid organic-mechanical hulls writhing with cybernetic adaptations. They had come prepared this time, bringing enough firepower to reduce Starlight Haven to crystalline dust. What they found instead was an Earth Fleet battle group waiting for them. Multiple contacts, reported the Everest's sensor officer. Their biosignatures are all over the place. Looks like they've gone full cyborg. Some of those ships are more implant than vessel. Commander Wu watched the tactical display with steady eyes. The Void Hunter ships were technological marvels, each one unique, evolved through countless raids and absorptions of alien technology. Under other circumstances, they would have been fascinating to study. Right now, they were just targets. They're broadcasting, the comm officer announced. Audio only. A chorus of mechanically altered voices filled the bridge. Heavy worlders, you interfere in matters beyond your understanding. The Nexus biotech will advance our evolution, stand aside, or be added to our collective. Wu's response was calm and measured. This is Commander James Wu of the Earth Defense Fleet. The Nex are under our protection. You have one chance to retreat. The only answer was a barrage of exotic energy weapons fire. Beams of coherent quantum energy, designed to disrupt the crystalline structure of Nix ships, splashed harmlessly against the Everest's thick metal hull. Well, Wu allowed himself a small smile. They tried it their way. Now we do this the Earth way. All ships, execute pattern avalanche. The human fleet moved with coordinated precision that belied their ship's massive bulk. The Void Hunters had adapted their vessels for speed and energy weapons, sacrificing structural integrity in their quest for evolution. They weren't prepared for the sheer mass of human warships built to withstand 3 times standard gravity. The Everest's kinetic strike batteries opened up, launching projectiles at velocities that bent local spacetime. The Void Hunters' advanced shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, meant nothing against simple physics applied with overwhelming force. Inside Starlight Haven, Astra Val watched the battle through the station's quantum sensors. The humans moved like the gravity giants they were, their ships leaving ripples in spacetime that the Nyx could directly perceive. But there was something else, something that made her patterns shift in wonder. "They're dancing," she transmitted to her fellow researchers. "Look at their formation. Every movement precisely calculated to protect us. They're using their mass to create gravity wells that deflect enemy fire away from the station." The Void Hunters quickly discovered that their usual tactics were worse than useless. Attempts to ram or board the human vessels ended with their ships crumpled against hulls designed to withstand crushing gravitational forces. Their energy weapons, optimized for crystalline targets, barely scratched the primitive metal alloys of Earth's ships. "Target their engines," Wu commanded as another Void Hunter ship disintegrated under the Everest's guns. "Don't destroy them completely. We want survivors to spread the word." In space, message missiles launched from the human fleet, their quantum-encrypted transmissions reaching out to nearby systems. "Attention all species. The Sol Protectorate hereby declares this sector a protected zone. The Nyx people are under human protection. Let any who would prey upon peaceful species beware." The battle lasted less than an hour. When it ended, the Void Hunters had lost 23 ships, with the remainder retreating in disarray. Not a single human vessel had been destroyed, though several sported impressive dents where enemy ships had tried to ram them. But it was what happened after the battle that truly changed galactic politics forever. The humans, these titans from a heavy world, transformed from warriors to rescue workers with impressive speed. Their massive ships gently maneuvered around damaged sections of Starlight Haven, using their gravity drives to stabilize the station's quantum matrix. Marines in powered armor, each weighing more than a Nyx vehicle, delicately extracted trapped researchers from damaged sections. Their movements were a study in controlled power, like watching giants handle soap bubbles without breaking them. "I don't understand," one of the captured Void Hunter leaders said as they were led to a detention cell. Their cybernetic implants clicked and whirred in agitation. "Your species is primitive. You still use chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. How did you defeat our advanced technology?" The Marine Guard, a woman who massed 3 times the prisoner's weight even out of armor, smiled. "Because we never forgot our roots. You tried to evolve past your limitations. We learned to turn our limitations into strength. These muscles aren't just for show. They're from growing up in a gravity well that would crush you flat." Aboard the Everest, Commander Wu was composing his report to Fleet Command when Admiral Rodriguez's quantum-encrypted transmission arrived. "The Nyx Collective is requesting formal alliance talks. Apparently, we've impressed them. Not just with our strength, but with how we choose to use it." Wu looked out at the starfield, where human ships now orbited protectively around Starlight Haven. Their heavy bulk and massive engines, once considered disadvantages in space, had proven to be exactly what was needed to protect a physically fragile but technologically advanced species. "Send them our terms," he replied. "But make sure they understand something. We're not here to rule or dominate. Earth learned those lessons centuries ago. We're here to protect, to be the shield that lets peaceful species advance without fear. After all, what good is being the strongest kid on the block if you don't look out for your neighbors?" The stars seemed to shine a little brighter as humanity settled into its new role, not as conquerors or victims, but as guardians. The gravity of their homeworld had forged them into giants, but it was their choice to be gentle ones that would reshape the galaxy. Delicate balance. The observation deck of Starlight Haven had been specially reinforced to accommodate human visitors, its crystalline floors now threaded with carbon fiber support structures. Dr. Elena Santos, xenobiologist from Earth, stood carefully in the designated areas as she watched Nyx researchers at work. Their bodies pulsed with patterns of light that interfered with quantum fields in ways her instruments could barely detect. "You're doing it again," Astravel noted, her own patterns shifting to amused golden swirls, "moving like you expect to break through the floor with every step." Elena smiled ruefully. "Force of habit. When you grow up on a world that could crush most sentient species, you learn to be careful everywhere you go." She gestured to her exoskeleton, a lightweight frame that helped her distribute her mass more evenly. "Even with this assistance, I mass more than 3 of your people combined. Yet you handle our most delicate instruments with perfect precision," Astra observed. "Watch." The Nyx researcher extended a crystalline tendril, manipulating quantum fields to lift a data crystal no larger than a grain of sand. The crystal contained enough information to fill 1,000 human databases, its molecular structure precisely arranged to store data in quantum states. Elena reached out with specially designed micro-manipulators built into her exoskeleton's gloves. The human instruments were crude by Nyx standards, but they allowed her to handle the crystal without damaging it. "Different approaches to the same problem," she noted. "You evolved to manipulate quantum states directly. We built tools to do it indirectly." Across the station, similar scenes of cooperation and adaptation were playing out. Human engineers worked alongside Nyx architects to strengthen critical sections of the station while preserving its living crystalline nature. Every modification had to balance structural integrity against the quantum-sensitive biological systems that made Nyx technology possible. In the newly established Joint Defense Center, Marine Lieutenant Sarah Chen, no relation to the groundbreaker's captain, was learning about Nyx sensor technology from Chief Observer Lumna Telephone. The Nyx could perceive quantum disturbances that would give away cloaked ships or FTL signatures long before human instruments detected them. "So if we combine your quantum detection with our predictive combat eye," Sarah mused, careful to keep her suited bulk in the reinforced sections of the room, "we could spot Void Hunter raids before they even arrive." Lumina's patterns shifted to excited blues. "Yes, and our quantum communication arrays, linked to your heavy gravity-rated transmitters, could warn multiple sectors simultaneously, no delay from light speed limitations." The station's main laboratory had become a hub of joint research. Human scientists, fascinated by Nyx biotechnology, worked to understand how their crystalline biology manipulated quantum states. The Nyx, equally intrigued by human adaptations to extreme gravity, studied how such dense life forms maintained precise control over their powerful bodies. "Your cellular structure is fascinating," senior researcher Crystal Song told Dr. James Wu, the commander's brother, as they reviewed microscopic scans. "Each cell reinforced against crushing pressure, yet maintaining flexibility. If we could adapt some of these principles to our crystalline matrices, while incorporating your quantum sensitivity into our sensor systems," James added, "imagine early warning systems that could detect spatial disturbances across entire sectors." But it wasn't all scientific exchange. In the station's newly modified recreation area, humans and Nyx found ways to share culture despite their radical physical differences. The humans had learned to appreciate the subtle beauty of Nyx light pattern art, while the Nyx were fascinated by human music, particularly how sound waves created patterns in quantum fields. Marine Corporal David Chen demonstrated Tai Chi movements, his powered armor's mass dampeners allowing him to move with fluid grace despite his enormous weight. Nearby, a group of young Nyx attempted to mimic his movements with their crystalline forms, creating cascades of light that traced their motions through space. "It's about control," David explained, "finding the balance between strength and gentleness, like how your species shapes living crystal with quantum fields, power guided by precision." The Nyx understood this principle well. Their entire civilization was built on the careful manipulation of delicate forces. They had originally feared that humans, with their great physical power, would be clumsy destroyers. Instead, they found kindred spirits who had learned to control their strength through necessity. In the station's command center, now jointly operated by both species, Admiral Rodriguez met with the Nix High Council via quantum hologram. The crystalline beings' avatars shimmered with patterns the human diplomatic AIs were learning to interpret as formal protocol. "The Void Hunters have gone silent," Rodriguez reported. "Our patrols have found abandoned bases where they were experimenting with stolen Nix biotechnology. They're adapting, evolving their tactics. They will return." The High Chancellor's patterned speech indicated concern. They believe evolution through absorption of other species' traits is their destiny. But now they will fear approaching our worlds directly. "Which gives us time," Rodriguez noted. "Time to establish joint defense protocols, to train both our species to work together. Every day, we learn more about combining our strengths." The High Chancellor's patterns shifted to what the AI translated as philosophical consideration. Perhaps this is a form of evolution too. Not the forced absorption the Void Hunters pursue, but a voluntary exchange of knowledge and protection. Your people's strength shelters us, while our understanding of the quantum realm expands your awareness. As if to emphasize the point, a human cargo ship was carefully docking at that moment, its massive bulk guided by Nix quantum fields that helped distribute its weight evenly across the reinforced crystal structure. What should have been a dangerous operation had become routine through cooperation and mutual understanding. The galaxy was changing. The story of the humans defending Starlight Haven had spread, carried by quantum transmissions and subspace ripples. Other species, previously hesitant to contact the primitive heavy worlders, were reaching out. They saw in humanity something unique, not just physical power, but the wisdom to use that power with precision and restraint. Watching the daily operations of the station, Elena reflected on how far both species had come. The humans had learned to move through crystal corridors without fear of breaking them, while the Nix had learned to trust in the careful strength of their protectors. Together, they were becoming something new. An alliance that balanced power with precision, strength with sensitivity. The Void Hunters had thought themselves the next step in evolution. Instead, they had inadvertently catalyzed a different kind of advancement, one based not on forceful absorption of traits, but on mutual growth and protection. The galaxy was about to discover that true strength comes not from what you can take, but from what you choose to protect. Evolution of trust. The quantum alarms pulsed through Starlight Haven's crystalline corridors with an urgency that needed no translation. In the Joint Command Center, human and Nix operators worked in seamless coordination, their months of training evident in every action. The Void Hunters had returned, but this time they weren't raiding a defenseless research station. 65 vessels detected, Luminatel reported, her patterns shifting through analytical frequencies. Their quantum signatures are different. They've incorporated some kind of hybrid technology we've never seen before. Admiral Rodriguez studied the tactical display where the incoming fleet blazed like a constellation of malevolent stars. The Void Hunters had spent months adapting, evolving, stealing technology from a dozen species to counter humanity's physical advantages. Their ships now bristled with gravity manipulation systems and inertial dampeners. "They think they've solved the puzzle of how to beat us," Rodriguez said, a slight smile playing at her lips. "They've forgotten that we've been evolving too." The joint human, Nix defense fleet moved into position. Human heavy cruisers, their hulls now threaded with crystalline quantum sensors, formed the core of the formation. Smaller Nix vessels, reinforced with Earth-designed structural supports, darted between them like schools of luminescent fish around great whales. "All ships, execute Protocol Thunderlight," Rodriguez commanded. The space around Starlight Haven came alive with quantum disturbances as Nix operators channeled their natural abilities through human-built amplifiers. The Void Hunter's first volley of weapons fire curved away from its targets, deflected by precisely calculated gravity wells. "Return fire," Commander Wu ordered from the Everest. "Show them what real evolution looks like." The human fleet's kinetic weapons, now guided by Nyx's quantum targeting systems, struck with unprecedented precision. Each projectile arrived exactly where the enemy ships would be, their trajectories accounting for quantum states that normal targeting computers couldn't process. The Void Hunter's advanced shields, designed to counter their last encounter with human weapons, shattered under the coordinated assault. But the pirates had their own surprises. Their ships split apart, recombining into larger formations, organic technology merging with mechanical in ways that defied conventional physics. They had become a true collective, sharing processing power and energy across their entire fleet. "They're adapting in real time," Astraval observed from her station post. "Sharing data, combining strengths, just like we do, but twisted." "Then let's show them the difference between forced evolution and true cooperation," Rodriguez replied. "Execute Constellation Protocol." What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations. The human and Nyx ships moved in perfect harmony, each species complementing the other's strengths. Human vessels used their massive bulk to create gravity lenses, which Nyx operators shaped into weapon augmentation fields. Nyx quantum manipulators extended the range and power of human kinetic weapons far beyond their design specifications. The Void Hunters found themselves facing an enemy that had taken the best aspects of both species and combined them through mutual trust and understanding. Their hybrid technology, forced to work together through cybernetic dominance, couldn't match the fluid coordination of willing allies. In the midst of the battle, a Void Hunter vessel managed to breach the defensive line, aiming for Starlight Haven's vulnerable research sectors. It met an unexpected defense. Human Marines in crystal-enhanced powered armor, working alongside Nyx security forces. The Marines' incredible strength was now guided by quantum-sensitive interfaces, allowing them to respond to threats before they fully materialized. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the Void Hunters had been decisively defeated. Their surviving ships flowed into deep space, but they carried with them a message more powerful than any weapon, a demonstration of true evolutionary advancement. In the aftermath, as repair crews from both species worked together to heal Starlight Haven's minor injuries, Admiral Rodriguez met with the Nyx High Council. The crystalline being's patterns shifted with emotions that the human translation matrices were still learning to interpret. The Void Hunters sought to force evolution through dominance, the High Chancellor observed. They believed that gathering the physical traits of other species would make them superior. Instead, they became a cautionary tale. Rodriguez nodded. "While we discovered that true strength comes from voluntary cooperation, each species maintaining its unique characteristics while learning to work in harmony with others." The implications extended far beyond a single battle. News of the joint human-Nyx victory spread across the galaxy through quantum channels and subspace ripples. Other species began to see new possibilities in cooperation with the heavy worlders they had once feared or dismissed. On Earth, the UN Security Council received requests for protective alliances from a dozen species. The humans found themselves evolving into a new role, not conquerors or mere defenders, but teachers helping other species find the strength in their own unique traits. Starlight Haven became more than a research station. It transformed into a symbol of what was possible when different species chose to work together. In its crystalline corridors, humans learned to handle quantum-sensitive equipment with perfect precision, while Nyx researchers incorporated principles of Earth biology into their living architecture. The station's quantum sensors recorded an unexpected phenomenon. In areas where humans and Nyx worked together regularly, their quantum signatures had begun to harmonize. Two radically different forms of life, finding resonance through mutual respect and cooperation. Perhaps this is the true path of evolution, Astraval suggested to Elena Santos as they watched a sunset paint quantum ripples across the station's crystal spires. not the absorption of traits by force, but the voluntary sharing of strengths. Elena smiled, her exoskeleton allowing her to sit comfortably in a chair designed for Nick's anatomy. We thought we were limited by our heavy world biology. You thought you were limited by your crystalline fragility. Turns out, our limitations were just differences waiting to become advantages. Above them, human ships cruised in protective orbits around the station, their massive engines now quiet enough not to disturb sensitive Nick's equipment. Below, Nick's quantum engineers worked with human technicians to develop the next generation of hybrid technologies, not stolen or forced, but created through collaboration. The galaxy was changing, one partnership at a time. The humans had found their place, not as evolutionary dead ends trapped by gravity, but as protectors and partners helping forge a new kind of interstellar community. The Nix had discovered that physical fragility didn't equal weakness when you had allies who made your safety their strength. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, other species watched and learned. The age of forced evolution was ending. The age of collaborative growth had begun. Humanity's greatest strength, it turned out, wasn't the power of their gravity-forged bodies, but their ability to be gentle giants, using their strength not to dominate, but to protect and nurture growth. The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if the galaxy itself approved of this new direction. Evolution hadn't ended. It had simply found a better path forward, one built on trust rather than force, on cooperation rather than conquest. And it had all started because a mining ship captain decided to help a crystalline research station in distress, proving that sometimes the strongest bonds begin with a simple act of protection.